Good morning, good evening, good everything in between, and welcome to the podcast. It's my first time back in a while. I feel like it's been ages since I've seen you guys. I'm your host, Jim Bobernicki, and I'm joined as always by Mr. Gabe Lerman. How you doing, Gabe?
Don't worry, I was just keeping your host seat warm. Doing well, staring at the vet bill. My poor cat has gingivitis, which explains the halitosis and the incredibly bad breath he's had.
I'm joined also by Mr. Michael Beasley. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing well and considering and wondering, how does a cat get gingivitis?
Well, it's not like the cats can brush their teeth.
Yeah, how
You
does
don't know
anyone
that.
get gingivitis, I guess? I was
Or
about
I
to say,
can't get them to gargle mouthwash either.
I was going to say, was it not eating enough oranges, but that's scurvy. That's not the same thing.
There's no such thing as feline Listerine, no.
Hey, that's a business idea. We should discuss that.
Cut
No,
that out,
welcome
cut
to the
that out, cut
MTV
that out.
Business Podcast.
Get Listerine on the phone.
But yeah, okay. So today's top story is the All-Star balloting is in. The fan votes are in. There were and player votes will be revealed tomorrow. Well, as of recording for us, you'll probably hear it by then on July 4th. But what we have so far for the fan voting is Iwatamiya at catcher, Ariel Martinez at first base, Daigo Kamikawabata at second base, Tatsuki Mizuno at shortstop, Yuya Gunji at third base, Chusei Manami, Kensuke Kondo, and Yuki Nagita in the outfield, and my man Takeo Nakamura at DH. And on the mound, we will have Sachia Yamasaki, Seiga Tanaka, and Ryusei Kawano. You may have noticed if you were keeping track of who we were going through there, that's basically the fighters starting lineup and pitching rotation, all but three spots. And Yanagita's injured, so I'm not sure who they're going to replace with him. Obviously, I would go
Shun
with
Mizutani,
hmm?
Go Matsumoto, another fighter.
Yeah, I
Fighter
honestly, I mean,
sweep.
that would be valid. Yeah, but I obviously would go Shuto, but that's just me. What do you guys think of that All Star voting? I mean, how do you feel about it being so fighters heavy?
Keep in mind, Escon Field Hokkaido is hosting one of the two games for the All-Star Series, so this tracks. Uh, I'm going to open up to the floor as our question of the day who we think the snubs were, but I mean, Tommy has been in the batting race. Manami has the cannon arm and is getting plaudits outside of Japan. Gunji's made a good transition from catcher to third base. The only really iffy choices are up the middle with Kami Kawabata and Mizuno, but I don't think you could really point to anyone else as being a solid second baseman or shortstop so far this season.
Well, I would go with Kenta Amamiya, but I mean, that's just me. That's my Hawks bias as
Right,
usual.
right. Forgot about him.
Mike, how do you feel about the fighters heavy setup there?
Um, Looking at it from someone who totally didn't stuff the MLB ballot box for his MLB team, I think it looks fine.
That's totally fair. And I think we also have a trade to announce today. Gabe, what do you have for us on that?
A couple of days ago, the Yomiuri Giants acquired Gakuto Wakabayashi from the Saitama Seibu Lions for Seiya Matsubara. It's a bit of a swap of outfielder for outfielder. Wakabayashi is a speedster, but he had a gruesome leg injury a couple seasons ago and hasn't quite made it back to his top form yet. Matsubara has been stuck on the farm most of the last 3 seasons. He put up a 2 wins above replacement season in 2021, so he'll get a fresh chance to start in Saitama and hoping for the best. Best of luck, Gakuto Wakabayashi, as well as you work your way back to the bigs.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a pretty like for like, relatively, even enough trade. And I think we also have one more story here from our newest colleague, Matt. He translated something, but we will have Michael read it to us. Mike, what do you have for us here today?
Okay, so something interesting and probably a lot of people will be either unhappy with or kind of split down the middle with it is the MPB is considering the possibility of adding like the tiebreaker rule that you currently see in the MLB with the ghost runner in extra innings, starting off an inning with a runner on second. Would that replace the tying at 12 innings? Like
It's to be
Oh,
determined, from what I understand. They're still going to do a committee to investigate and review. This isn't anything being handed down on high.
in my opinion on the ghost runner rule in general, I can take it or leave it. I'm not super pro or super anti, but I do think it's a bit of a just kind of an odd thing to be looking into when you just straight up have ties already. I don't think anybody's really screaming or chomping at the bit to get a tiebreaker rule in there like that, or to remove the ties as they are. But I
How
mean, that
few
would be.
ties do we have in a season? I mean, let's be honest. This is dealing with a problem that is not a problem. Not to knock Commissioner Sakakibara and the league executives who are investigating, but you've got bigger issues. And I'm not saying that the ball is deadened to the point where home runs are at a premium, but I'm not saying that.
I mean, I'm kind of on the fence about it because I'm not super I don't love the Ghost Runner thing, but I get it. But then initially when Mike said that it could lead to less ties, I'm for that. But then also, I mean, are ties really that much of a problem? I don't love ties, but I also totally get why we have them MPB. So like kind of seems like it's just kind of a wash, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't seem like the end of the world. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, again, there's nothing official yet, so they still have to talk about it. So we'll see where it goes.
But I mean, just to add on, the first time I watched an MPB game and it ended in a tie, it was kind of like a sour feeling. I was like, "Oh, that's it? Really? You can't end on that." Now I'll see like a Marines game. I'm like, "Oh, please tie, please tie, please tie, please tie, please."
Yeah,
Well,
ties could be
when they're
ties.
away, of course, but
Bittersweet definitely is like the definition of it. Where like sometimes it leads to like good drama. That's the thing I don't like about it is that you have good drama and then it just kind of ends flat. But I mean, again, I totally get the logistical reason why they have ties. It makes a lot of sense. And so we will take a quick little break here before we get into our Around the Horn segment. We'll be back in just a moment.
Every day across America, thousands of baseball fans are starving for live games because they're stuck working the night shift. They can't watch games live and are left to scavenge for highlight reels on YouTube. It doesn't have to be this way. For just 1,500 yen per month, you can sponsor a shift worker to get access to Pacific League TV. Live broadcasts, including farm team games, with start times between midnight and 5 a.m. Eastern, all blackout free. Your subscription also includes a decade's worth of full game videos on demand. Please find it in your heart to give the joy of Pacific League TV to the fans in your life. Visit pacificleague.com to sign up.
And welcome back. And here we are with our main segment of the show, the Around the Horn Show, where we go from top to bottom looking at all the teams in the league. And as I've grown very, very accustomed to saying, we are starting off with the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks, 7-1-1 in the last month, starting July, beating the Lions yesterday before going off on a 12. They have a 12-game lead on Lotte in the standings. It's absolutely insane. The other day, I was saying, looking at their record, that I was like, I wonder if they can get to 50 wins before they get to 20 losses. Then they lost the next game, but now they've just been winning every game ever since. So now they're probably going to get to 50 and 20. Though, of course, knowing me, by the time you hear this, that will have been proven wrong, and they will be 49 and 21. But I mean, they've just been dominating head to toe lately. Kurihara is doing really well. Ryota's doing really well. I mean, Kensuke Kondo is just playing out of his mind. Shuto's been he's kind of regressed a little bit back to the mean, but he's still obviously a great base running threat. And Carter Stewart Jr. had his best start the other day, just destroying the fighters, getting 13 Ks over 7 innings, allowing only one run. He's looking amazing lately. The only thing, also, Arihara's been looking good. Moinello's been killing it. The only thing that isn't looking ideal is Osuna. I've been worried about him all season, and he's really starting to just those bad games are coming out more and more often. I have this awful feeling in my gut that that's going to be what does us in by the end of the season. But other than that, it's beyond smooth sailing for the Fukuoka side.
Yeah, I think the rest of the league is still very much jealous. And Carter Stewart Jr. earning his 2-year extension, great, just what we need. And we got to
More.
shine some light on Ryosuke Otsu having his breakout season too. In 10 starts, 6-3 record with a 2.19 ERA, 57 strikeouts against 51 hits and only 11 walks.
Woof.
That's a real three-headed monster the Hawks have in the rotation.
It's more like a four-headed monster because you have Monello and you have Arihara doing really well.
Oh,
I mean,
right,
it's
Moinello
crazy.
too. Good grief.
Yeah. And also another thing that I saw something the other day that they've sold out, I think, every home game so far this season, or at least at the time of writing that when that happened. And they've been 27-6 at home as of recording. And yeah, it's just like it's a fortress at the Mizuho PayPay Dome right now. They are just dominating. I mean, if they were in the Central League, they'd still be 12 games ahead of Hiroshima. Like, it's crazy how far and away they are the best team at the moment. And that brings us over to the second place team in the league, the Chibalode Marines. Take it away, Mike.
All right, so for the Marines, 5-4-1 since our last recording. They finally won a game at Escon Field this season, where they beat the Fighters 9-6, which was earlier today. And also, we've had quite a lot of history happen recently with the Marines. Recently, outfielder Hiromi Oka set a new NPB record by hitting a double in 8 consecutive games. The previous record holders were both fighters, with Makoto Kaneko and Kensuke Kondo. I'm sure our good friend Steve over at We Love Marines, I'm sure he's happy about that. He's a big Oka fanboy, as I've turned into a big Hiromi Oka fanboy as of recent. And congrats to Naoya Masada for setting a new franchise record, recording his 228th save on June 26th. He's a 5-time All-Star and has been with the Marines since 2012, and he's led the PL in saves twice over his seasons with the Marines. And another important milestone, former Marines captain Shogo Nakamura has collected his 1,000th career hit, which came on June 25th at home at Marine Stadium, so good for him. And last week, or maybe the week before that, we were talking about Polanco having a power outage. He's the first foreign player to hit double-digit home runs in PL this season, and I believe the other day he had a 2-home run game. I think that was his first multi-home run game of the season, and I know last year he had like 2, 3-home run games that are pretty close to one another. And one big piece of news, Ayumu Ishikawa has returned to the rotation after a lengthy injury absence. He hasn't been seen since September 2022, and it looked like a really good return to form for him. He's been kind of shaky the just past couple years, really. When I got into NPB and watching Marines, it was like you saw this good 1-2 punch with him and Hideaki Wakui, but like every year it was like one of them couldn't put it together. Like one year Ishikawa was the ace of the staff. The next year he was shaky and Wakui was the number one. The next year Ishikawa was the number one. They can never be good at the same time, which I always found odd. And then he's just kind of had issues as of recent. So happy to see him back on the top team. And I watched that game, and he was watching him pitch. It was like he was right back to his old self again. Those mid 2010s Marines teams.
So that's now a healthy Ishikawa, strikeout superstar Atsuki Taneichi, ERA leader CC Mercedes, and all right, fan favorite Kazuya Ojima, and oh yeah, this Roki Sasaki guy lurking in the wings. Latte's got a really good rotation this year.
For sure, it's been really fun to watch, and I'm a big fan of pitching duels, or just when just pure domination when the pitchers are racking up tons of Ks and the other team can't even get on base. The Marines could score 1 run, but just as long as the other team's looking foolish, I think it's equally as fun to watch.
And that'll bring us over to the third place in the league, our Pacific League All-Star team, really, the Hokkaido Nippon Ham Fighters. Take it away, Gabe.
I mean, having the entire infield play as the all-star team is a nice consolation for the fact that the team's been in a bit of a tailspin. Only 2 wins in the last 12. The Fighters are back at a 500 record, and now looking over their shoulder at the Eagles and Buffaloes, only 2 games behind them. It's a little grim right now. We could use a break. At least the merch has been on a hot streak. A new series of keychains got promoted by the Fighters on Twitter, bringing back every mascot the teams had over the last 50 years, including some that never wound up as a costume and were just on the logos. So if you missed Flighty the Pterodactyl or whatever the hell Gyorotan was, you can go pick those up. It's an interesting review on a franchise's 50th anniversary. I included it in the show notes. Yeah, Flighty's an odd little duck, isn't he?
Yeah, that is weird. That little guy with the bat there?
Oh yeah, the I also dig the knight in the helmet wielding a bat and doing like the flying splits. Nice touch.
That guy rocks. That I really like that one.
The Fighters have also been wearing their Smush Multiple Eras into One wordmark jersey for the last few games, including wearing jersey number 100 in honor of the former team owner who saved the franchise and acquired it 50 years ago. And the Franimal continues to slug his way into the history books. DH Franmil Reyes is the first fighter with 2 Grand Slams in the same season since Sho Nakata in 2019. Even more impressive is that his 2 Grand Slams have come in the last couple of weeks. He knows how to pick his spots, I'll say that.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, getting 8 RBIs on 2 hits is a pretty good way to go about business. And so that brings us over to the 4th place team in the league, our defending Pacific League champions, the Oryx Buffaloes. Take it away, Gabe.
Buffaloes are 5-5 since Interleague ended, so holding steady and stable-ish. And you'll notice the change in order. The Buffaloes snuck ahead of the Eagles on percentage points, especially courtesy of the rainout we had earlier today. The lefty from Okinawa, Hiroya Miyagi, is healthy again, returning to the rotation on June 27th after missing a month with a pectoral muscle injury. Pitched 5 very good-looking innings, and with both him and Shunpei Yamashita in the rotation, yeah, feeling a little bit more confident about the Buffalo's chances to keep the opponents off the board. Credit where credit is due, Andres Machado has forced himself into the closer role. I think Yoshihisa Hirano might still be stuck waiting for save number 250 as a result. He's the first foreign Buffaloes pitcher to get double-digit saves in his first NPB season since Ku Dai-sung did it in 2001 back as a member of the Oryx Blue Wave. We've mentioned before that rookie reliever Seiryu Kotajima was aiming for a new NPB record of consecutive mound appearances since his debut, but he got stuck at 22, allowing a run in his 23rd mound appearance. So he'll have to settle for a tie for the record with Ryoji Kuribayashi of the Carp and Satoshi Miyamori of the Eagles. That's 3 players setting the record in the last 4 seasons. And finishing on a mirthful note, a user on Twitter caught Yuma Mune and Haruto Watanabe horsing around a bit in the dugout on camera. You know, like elbowing each other, playfully jostling each other's jersey, that sort of thing. It's really humanizing to keep in mind that these ball players, especially in a very conformist nation like Japan, can still be goofballs, especially on the Buffaloes. And I think the coach, Satoshi Nakajima, has really set the tone for his team in that respect.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, baseball's, supposed to be fun, I think. The more
They're
fun
playing
baseball is, the
pinstripe
better.
pajamas. They're playing a kid's game. Let them have fun.
Yeah, exactly. That brings us over to the 5th place team, the Tohoku Rakuten Golden Eagles. Take it away, Mike.
All right, so the Rakuten Eagles 2-5-1 since the end of Interleague. They had a rain out earlier today, so not exactly capitalizing on the fighters' slump. They're 2 games back of 3rd place. Exciting news, Michael Franco hit a grand slam on June 21st, the same game in which Fran Reyes actually hit one of his grand slams for the fighters. First time in NPB history 2 opposing foreign players hit grand slams in the same game. So good for Michael Franco. He hit a couple of them with the Phillies. I believe it was 4 back when I was watching him pretty regularly during the rebuild time. He was pretty much the only thing to watch there. But in other news, we've talked about NPB players heading to Australia for off-season work like Yuma Mune or Takahisa Hayakawa. But we've got news from the Australian national team that the reverse is going to be happening soon. Will Sheriff of the Perth Heat is training with the Eagles farm team for 6 weeks, and it was his friendship with Hayakawa last offseason that opened the door for this opportunity. So that's real cool to see, and hopefully you get to see more talent swaps or training swaps and stuff like that in the future.
Yeah, that'd be good. I mean, I think the more international baseball we get and the more the game grows, especially in Australia, because, I mean, Australia's got a lot of people and they've got, good cricket players, so maybe they can make good baseball players. But yeah, I think international action is always a good thing for the game. And that brings us over to the last place team in the Pacific League, the Saitama Seibu Lions, as I've gotten quite used to saying also. I think all the middles changed, but I've had all season long the Hawks on top, Lions on the bottom. But, 4-4-1 since our last recording. That's pretty good for them. That's a good Lions week for me. The Lions had a 32 inning scoreless streak from the 14th to the 22nd, a new club record. Not a good one, but it is a new club record. But it is exciting time for the young guns of the Lions. Lefty Shinosuke Hada got his first career start on July the 2nd. He's been a very highly touted prospect that a lot of Lions fans have been looking forward to. I know I've been checking out farm games trying to catch some of him, so it's really good to see that he's come up to the main roster. But I mean, if there's anything the Lions need more of, it's starting pitching, right? Hada previously Hada previously appeared in relief after an interleague game and got called up and has been called the Japanese Randy Johnson by our colleagues on YouTube. Do we nickname him Dai Unito? I mean, he threw 3 innings and allowed 2 earned runs on 3 hits and 4 walks, only 1 strikeout. But I mean, nervous jitters. He is still a rookie. But man, his stuff looks really good, though. I think he is going to be a star eventually. We just need to give him time. And a sartorial update. The Lions Twitter announced that on June 26th, they have partnered with New Yorker fashion brand for the blue tartan jersey that'll be worn in this upcoming week's game. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but it's got like a very Scotland vibe to it, and it's really cool. It's not very Lions, but it is very fun. I like it a lot.
Bagpipes I heard in the distance.
And an incredible highlight from July 2nd, Manaya Nishikawa crushed a baseball into the outfield second deck of Tokyo Dome. That's some Otani behavior. We'll take every highlight we can so far with the Lions so far this season. But yeah, I mean, it's good to see that the rookies are coming up and playing well. But it's been a long season, and we're not quite at the end of it yet. I'm not sure the Lions will manage to battle the way out of last place, but as long as people don't get injured, we'll be all right, I think.
Shinnosuke Hada in particular is someone to definitely keep an eye on. 96-mile-an-hour fastball as a lefty. Yeah, Japanese Randy Johnson ain't too far off, especially with the results from his first start, including 4 walks. Remember, Randy had a bit of a wild streak before he finally got settled down.
Yeah, as you were saying, the thing with Randy Johnson that I think maybe a lot of people don't realize that he didn't even start being really good until his late 20s and early 30s. So everyone's got time, and then he pitched into his 40s and was absolutely dominant for a 10-year stretch there. So don't worry too much about a rookie not getting off to the best start through his first game. Though, I mean, if you want to talk about rookies who are having good starts, Natsuki Takeuchi is still unbeaten over 8 starts. I mean, he's a stud. But yeah. So that brings us to the end of our Around the Horn, and we will get back to you in just a second after a little break.
Hear me, good people of the baseball world. The major leagues have forsaken good taste and linen quality with their most recent uniforms, especially the pants. We can't show children this sport with everyone exposing their undergarments. Spare yourself and your virgin eyes by switching to Pacific League TV. No blackouts, no advertisements, no tissue paper trousers. Just $10 per month for all the good, clean baseball you could ask for. Visit PacificLeague.com today to sign up. Pacific League TV, the last bastion of decency in baseball.
And so that brings us over to the tail end of today's show, our familiar faces in new places. Gabe, how are the boys doing stateside?
Well, I'd like to start not with an MLB update, but one from Taiwan. Congrats to former Lion Woon Yen Ting, who made his CPBL debut back on July 1st, getting a hit in his first plate appearance. He signed for the next 3 seasons with the expansion team, the TSG Hawks. Back in the majors, Boston Red Sox outfielder Masataka Yoshida and San Diego Padres reliever Yuki Matsui faced off against each other for the first time in North America when San Diego visited Boston over the weekend. Matsui got Yoshida to ground out in that instance. I love seeing our former Pacific League guys go head-to-head just like they did back here in Japan. Speaking of Japanese baseball, the National Baseball Hall of Fame is opening an exhibit on Japanese baseball next summer. And among the artifacts going there, as presented earlier today, to Cooperstown, are Shohei Ohtani's bat and Yoshinobu Yamamoto's glove. The Dodgers having Japanese heritage night probably had something to do with the timing of the announcement.
Probably.
And I don't mean to get anyone's hopes up, but Major League Baseball's official Twitter posted video on June 26th of Shohei Ohtani playing long toss.
Ooh.
Is his arm going to be ready ahead of schedule? Could he pitch this season?
I wonder if maybe they're getting him ready just for if need really be to throw him out there in the playoffs. That's probably a really dicey move, but I mean, it would be a really good wild card surprise to pull on a team you're trying to beat. I mean, it could be a huge turn.
Gatsudaze.
And so that finally brings us over to our question of the day from us to you. Who do you think is the biggest snub in the All-Star fan voting? I personally, I'm giving it a little bit of thought throughout the entire show. I think Kotaro Kuribayashi for the Buffaloes actually has been having a much better season than Tatsuki Mizuno. But I mean, I don't know. It's a bit kind of splitting hairs-ish. What do you think? Who do you think's been snubbed?
I got 2 Eagles on my snub list. Hiroto Kobukata at second and Hideto Asamura at third. Asamura continues to be one of the most important bats for the Eagles. Okay, I'll throw in a third. Yuya Ogo in the outfield. I mean, yes, he's
Oh
going to be
yeah,
behind Manami, Kondo, and Yanagita. Maybe include him as a DH.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Just looking at the stats, it's there's a few snubs. But yeah. What about you, Mike?
I have not. I don't pay too much attention to the Hawks, but I was kind of surprised to see that Yamakawa wasn't there. I was under the impression he was smashing baseballs left and right.
I'm just trying to think. Is there anyone from the Marines we'd consider a snub?
Oh, you know what? I voted a few times for Soto when I was doing my voting. I think Soto's been really solid, and I was really surprised he didn't. I mean, I'm not that surprised he didn't get any love, but like, I think he's had a much better season than Nakamura. Like, the Nakamura votes I get are like entirely, like sort of emotional and just kind of being like, oh, let's give the old guy one more go. But I mean, Soto's been better than him, just straight up.
All right, I got 2 more names that I want to throw out, both of them Marines. CC Mercedes,
Oh
nothing for
yeah,
the ERA leader, excuse me,
yeah, seriously.
and Naoya Masuda in the closer role. Seiji
Yeah.
Tanaka has been good, not that good.
Yeah, no, honestly, those are both really good calls. Oh man, I just looked at the stats. It's actually brutal that Soto is not in over Nakamura. He's having a way better season, and I get it. It's an All Star game; it doesn't really matter. So it's nice to give like elder statesmen like Nakamura a little shout out. But I mean, I think we will see the player voting. So hopefully, some player voting does a little bit of adjusting. I really think though Kuribayashi is a huge snub over Mizuno. That's really the most glaring one to me. But that'll do it for today's show. As we put out there, please tell us who you think the biggest snub is, and also maybe even tell us who your all-star ballot voting is. I think maybe next week we will go over ours. We didn't really have time to get that together today, but as always, thank you for listening. Do all that YouTube stuff, like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next week on the podcast. Take care.